How about now? How about now? Ah, there. I can hear myself. I don't know what's going on this past few weeks, but here we are. Another Friday Night Live Zoom, September 3rd, 2021. And away we go. Hello, Deb. How you doing? The craziness continues on this on a global scale. We need to stay focused more now than ever. So much stuff's going on. It's just incredible. The level of tyranny. But we got to stay focused on the light at all costs, stand for our rights, and dive deep within by living a fasting lifestyle. It's the MFS realm. We keep it simple as possible. We don't get involved in all the complicated stuff. So away we go. um, Everything looks okay. How do we stay focused? How do we stay focused with all this stuff going on? You know, people are in the illusion of being threatened in their livelihoods and so on and so forth. Simple. Focus on the divine light and keep that flame burning in your hearts. If we don't stand now, you know, the light's already won. We just have to follow through. Just got to follow through. What's happening your end, Deb? Everything okay? Salute. Eating high raw fruits, fasting. Very good. Um, Not sure what's going on just yet. Please guide us. What's going on? Well, a lot of people have not been responsible for their own health. Majority of people, anyway. And this is the outcome, the repercussions when you hand over your responsibility to somebody else or to a corporation. We've all fallen in these traps, and it's a difficult place to be because this is what we've all been conditioned for. So um, most people are too lazy, I guess, to do their own research. They feel it's easier to hand it to somebody else without question. Bow down to the white jacket as a new god. Mainstream science will solve all my problems. Yeah. So this is where we are at. And it's a very challenging situation for, hello, Rosanna, for the mind that was programmed to not be responsible for themselves. Try and discuss things with people to share some information, and there's not much interest there. Or the statement, we all gotta die sometime, enjoy your life while you're here, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Get all kinds of answers. But what I've seen in the last 31 years being in the alternative uh, health field, you can say, which is not alternative, it's been there since the beginning of time, is once people get sick, then they're freaking out and screaming to be saved and get help. They just don't have the knowledge through lack of ignorance of not doing homework and taking charge of their health. And we've all been that. We've all been in those places, and we know what it's like. You know, you don't feel good, you go see your doctor or a healthcare practitioner or whatever. This is the program running, and it's infiltrated very deep in each and every one of us. Instead of, you know, making that choice to say, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to be totally responsible for my health, and I'm going to, you know, do as much research as I can, and start going within. And you know, what we found is fasting lifestyle is really a miraculous place to be, because you will find your answers. Your answers are not anywhere else out there except within. And the more you go within, the more answers you will find through your experiences of fasting, through your conscious effort choice of being that change you want to see. Fasting lifestyle is not, it's not easy for most people. It is simple, but it's not easy, because simplicity is do nothing. How much more simple do we want it? It's not easy because of our social peer pressures and ways of life don't support this lifestyle, and we fall into the trap of, you know, our close friends and relatives and co-workers and so on and so forth, people we live with, and that makes us vulnerable to fall in that trap over and over again. So we got to stand for something, and you know, everything worth doing is going to have effort, and it's going to be challenging. So the more challenging, the more rewards. And just like a good athlete who trains for years and years and years, and then he finally makes it, or she finally makes it, to a high level, which, didn't happen overnight. It took many, many years to get to that state of excellence so they can perform at, like world stage events and so on and so forth. So we just have to put in that little bit of effort every single day. Even if we're not doing anything in that day, what we could be doing some research, some reading, and towards informing ourselves. That's why we say that, the MFS protocol, just read it over and over and over again. Let it sink in. You read it once, you're not going to gain anything. You read it 10 times, you start seeing something. You start living it and continue reading it, you'll start knowing and having the understanding of over 3 decades of experiences from myself and many more decades from wonderful teachers that I've had. So yeah, we're all in this together. We're all part of one creation. We couldn't separate if we wanted to. We can go down the path of the dark evilness, blast ourselves to oblivion, but we're still going to be part of the whole, even though we're scattered throughout the universes, until balance is restored, because we chose through our free will to go in the opposite direction of the light. I don't know if that's even possible, but because the light circumvenes and touches everything. But through our own free will stubbornness, we can do other things. Hope everybody's doing freaking amazing. We had another beautiful day today. It's cooled off a little bit. September rolled in. Still nice and warm. Season changes are upon us again. Moving into autumn in the northern hemisphere, and what are they moving into? Spring or summer in the southern? Not sure. Either one. So as we embrace the energy, the fields of season changes, good thing to do is no thing. That's why we do our dry fast upon the season change times. Very, very good time to go deep within and connect and recharge, and it's there's absolutely nothing like it, especially when we've fallen off the wagon here and there a little bit, eaten a little bit too much of this and that, and so on and so forth. Clean minimal eating is also another challenge for many. When I was doing the 100% raw for all those years, I was in a completely different state of mind, and nobody could sway me for anything back then. But I was at a different understanding than I am now. So we grow through our experiences, and we find that not everything is uh, about the matter state. We have to look beyond. And how do we do that? We go within, because out there is the confusion spiraling outwards. As we spiral inwards, we get the clarity and beautiful information comes through. You had a quiet night tonight? Hello, Paula. Mhm. Anybody have any questions, something to share? Or we can wrap it up. Um, it's from many years of fasting. If you fall off the wagon and start eating heavy, you'll notice it in your eyes for sure. Um, Today was a semi-dry day. I'm wrapping my head around and getting ready for the autumn season change, Paula. It's can be challenging for a lot of us with everything going on, but we got to stay clear and focused. Yeah, the eyes reveal a lot. The iris and even the whites of the eyes. There's a whole science on reading that. But live a fasting lifestyle. We keep it simple in the realm of MFS. Very simple. Don't need to know anything about vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fats. We don't need to know any of that stuff. Because as far as I'm concerned, the whole nutrition theory is a bunch of hogwash, in my opinion, but that's only my opinion. From everything we've experienced and seen, that leads us to show with common sense and logic that it's a hogwash theory, just like everything else in mainstream science that keeps changing. If it changes, that means it's wasn't had nothing to do with facts, right? The divine truth that keeps order throughout all the universes cannot change. It can grow, but the foundation, the basic principles of how it operates, the fundamentals to keep the unicos going, stays the same. But it's built on. And our physical body is based on those principles. And so is our soul. So when we choose to work in that direction, we're going to see some pretty miraculous things happening if we so choose to live it and love it. It's not always, like I said, it's not easy to stay on the path, especially when you're involved with others. I find for some of us, when we're on our own, it's much easier. And for some people, they need to be with somebody else. So everybody has their own ways of interpreting things. But yeah, Jack, hogwash and false programming, all brainwashing from government and big make us believe science. Yeah. Look at where science has brought us to where we are today. It's absolutely ludicrous. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. Every day I wake up and I go, are we still involved in this crap? Yeah, we still are. Twilight zone. Where things cannot get any more weird. You, you would think. But every day there's a new surprise. A new surprise. And many of us just buy into it, right? If McDonald's were to stop advertising, their sales would plummet. So how do we know this? Because they've tried. Do you think a big corporation like that would spend money on advertising if it didn't work? They have to keep advertising, or their sales would plummet. So the same goes with mind control. It's got to be repeated over and over and over and be right in our faces. And what do we do in school? I remember when we were, bad in school, we'd be sent off to our desks or sit off at a corner, and you had to write lines. I will not do this again, blah, 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 over and over and over again. So what we used to do is get 2 or 3 pens, so we'd fill up the sheet faster when they weren't looking. But just think about what that does, doing the same thing over and over to put us in a position and belief that something different than what we believe through our hearts. So yeah, you know, lots of fun, in this life, lots of beauty. Nature keeps me sane. That's why I'm seeing my personal profile. I just love looking at nature pictures. If you can't get out, look at pictures of nature. But it's always better to be out in nature, outside, at least. Breathe in the fresh air, unless you're in a very polluted city, like was it Wuhan is one of the most toxic airs on the planet. That's why everybody's getting sick, these lung infections and so on and so forth. You know, poor lifestyle on top of it, horrible quality air, and who knows what's in the water. Just, the larger the city, the more negative energy in the water supply. And we use that water supply for what? For bathing, for washing ourselves, for drinking, for washing our food, for cooking our food. And we're, absorbing those fields of that negative energy from the water supplies, from the air, from the people that live in that city.
Mm-hmm. Gino, good evening.
Cancer cell, so-called cancer cell. If you look at it in a microscope and look at a city from way out there, you'll see they look almost identical. Constipation. Constipation is the road to chaos, imbalance. Hello, Barbara. How are you doing?
You hear me? Good, good, good. Yeah, I just have to share. My where science pointed me, and where my faith has pointed me, has always been this Buddhist concept that really mushroomed out of World War II. Out of that concept that.
If you're trying to say something.
Hi, you can hear me? Or
Something wrong on my end. No, my end, everything's working. Must be on your end, Barbara. So, our Creator gave us a mind to use critical thinking, common sense, and logic. You can hear Barbara? How come I can't hear? Something's going on here.
Here, you can hear me now, huh? You can't hear me?
Now I can hear you. Okay.
Oh, good, good, good.
It was my end. That's strange. Very strange. Okay, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, somehow I got blocked. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're probably familiar with Abraham Hicks and their concept of the vibration that that we create so that we can meet that. And I know in Judaism, the Lubavitchers, their concept that when you're singing with people and you're really enjoying it, when you're if you're dancing, if you're just even eating food and loving it, that those vibrations that we create are somewhat equal to the vibration we create when we're praying. Like if we're chanting, and the things that we'd be wanting to see, we're helping to cultivate, we're helping to manifest, just with what we're putting out there. And this Buddhism went, okay, we are so much more powerful than we realize, that we can take responsibility for all of it, as we're figuring it out. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to take all this water that's rushing all over the east coast of the United States over to the west coast. Seems so silly that we can't do that. But the idea here is, as we develop our ability to communicate with each other, and to really think, to really clear our minds, and become healthy, that we're going through a period in time right now of it's gotta create change.
Hmm. Oh
And
yeah,
that,
change is here. It's always around. You cannot stop change.
yeah, and
Um,
we can help move it in a direction, with the one thing, our own power to imagine. Einstein talked a lot about that, right? Our ability to imagine a better world, imagine um, that kind of connection where people can co-create together, can travel more easily, can distribute supplies. My friend just came back from Woodstock's Fruit and Spice Festival that happens every year. You know about that?
the one where in Woodstock?
Woodstock, yeah. Woodstock, New York. But they did it not exactly in Woodstock this time, but it's the Woodstock Fruit Festival.
Is that from that what's his name? The runner that hosts?
Um, I don't know who created it, but a lot of beautiful young people showed up, just with such an understanding of how we don't need, to be consuming all these things. And they had so much fun together. That just happened. And it was funny because the storm was supposed to be happening the time they were having their festival. And it kind of postponed itself so that everyone could have such a good time. My friend said, people didn't come together like to eat. You might grab some figs. She said what she did, and then you sit down and you're making eye contact with someone who has similar ideas. And there was so much play there. There was whatever. There's almost like too much happening. She was teaching laughter yoga. She was running that.
So you
But
were there?
no, I was just there by having two really good friends be there and
Oh,
send me pictures and share their stories, because I'm here still trying to figure out this mold issue, and contractors that take your money um, and overdose with it. That was so bad. That was like, I mean, you don't even want to say things like that, as they're happening, right?
what?
But no,
Cold in your home,
a contractor that was supposed to be remodeling the home that got torn apart because of mold,
right?
which doesn't really have to happen that way, because it does seem like tea tree oil destroys the mold and it doesn't grow back. Um, I challenge you to try that if you ever need to. But ended up costing a fortune, and everything got torn down, everything got thrown away, and then the person who was supposed to come in and rebuild um, doesn't answer the phone, and I took money up front and all this.
Oh boy.
And we're talking about how to turn this poison into medicine, so I'm trying to talk about, okay, so this contractor, who I know has two children, does seem to have a drug problem. Like, his
Right.
best friend definitely did, and doesn't answer phone calls. So how do we get people to work together and say, you know, come on, don't destroy your life. I believe in you. Keep working at what you built, and then sometime I can give you, a reference. And the president of the building, who lives right across from me, she's all involved now, and I put a deadlock on your door. And in the meantime, there are all these tools inside, and I'm trying to figure out how to be a grown-up and take some charge, some control, make some judgment calls, stand up to people, try to make the right thing happen. So it's kind of an exciting
Yeah,
time over here, saying how, yeah.
I have a friend of mine who saved many homes from being torn down because of mold. That people were renting homes and using them as grow-ops, and then the city deemed them to unsafe, and they wanted them tore down. And my friend saved them by ozone, clean up the mold with ozone. He would, everybody would have to leave, and then he'd make holes in specific spots all over the walls, and have fans and blast the hell with a lot of ozone for a few days, and it would kill all the mold. And the government would come in, check the mold, be dead, and they would stop the destruction of the home.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a fraction of the cost. You just got to repair some walls, some holes in walls, and that's it.
Yeah, so people talking to each other and helping each other.
If there's a water leakage coming in, you need to fix that, because that will make the mold continue to grow. But it's not rocket science. If the house is not built properly, it's a whole nother story. But
a movie I try to encourage everybody to see, because it is rocket science, is called it's a Bollywood movie, and it's Mission Mangal, and it's the true story of the first rocket that got to go to Mars, and why it came from India, and why it came from a scientist who actually had been fired from his first job because people were messing up, and he no longer had the money to work on these projects. So he couldn't hire the people he'd hired before, the brilliant scientists, but he could hire the girls that were their assistants that were working for them. And this is a true story. It really happened like this. And because the one person was understanding how things cook, because she spent a lot of time in the kitchen, so she could understand how to take a little bit of fuel and make it go a much longer way. As she was cooking these rotis, she figured that out. And this one old man, he figured out how trash, plastic, could be like one of the best building tools. And they created this rocket ship with the tools that they had. That was the first one to go to Mars. It's a fun movie, and I love the fact that it's true. These were like the real people. I mean, they show you the real people the actors played, and now that we're able to figure out rocket science, by by just having really good common sense.
Yeah. Hi, John. Yeah, awesome. It's all it is, common sense, logic, which is hard to come by these days. If there was common sense and logic, nobody would be covering their breathing apparatuses on their face, right? So it is what it is. Going back to the frequency and stuff, I don't like using the terminology frequency, because that's all man-made theories, frequencies. They don't have any base principles of how the universe works. The universe works on light and field strength, plasma, gravitational magnetic exchanges of giving and receiving. So when we, what they're talking about has the basic principles, but the terminology that they use is will sway us in the wrong direction, I believe myself, but that's just my opinion.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about Abraham Hicks? You talking?
Yeah, I don't like anybody that uses these frequency terminologies because we've done a lot of experiments several years ago with frequencies, and it's not something you want to be playing with. Man-made stuff always leads you to imbalance, is my understanding. When you work with the principles of the universe, you move towards balance. And yeah, we keep it simple. Frequencies, these are like, give an example when you talk about frequencies, it's like extracts of chemistry, isolates, and they always bring a balance. When I talk about 432, I'm talking about the number of creation. I'm not talking to referring to it as a frequency, even though people use it for tuning as a frequency. But it's much more than that. It's the number of creation. It's a divine nine. So it has all the power of creator within it. Everything goes full circle in order, and creation keeps expanding, actually spiraling.
There's a show called Baby Bum, and it's the strangest thing because kids under the age of like 1.5. I don't know if you. I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, to the moms, it was kind of a good thing because it seemed to hypnotize these children. And they just like, if it came on, they would stop what they're doing, whether it's crying or whatever. And they just start focusing on this TV show, Baby Bum. So trying to figure out, how this has so much power to attract these children. And I'm thinking must have to do with the frequency of the sound coming from that show. Different things that
Harmonics.
just yeah, I didn't see it a bad
Did
thing.
you say
Just interesting.
baby bum, like the rear end?
Yeah. And I can send you a video of this newborn baby and it's lying in bed with the daddy, and the baby's crying and crying, and the dad's like, all of a sudden he just starts going, "Om," and with his oming, this baby totally stops its crying and just like starts to look at him and totally relaxes. It's pretty amazing. And yeah, and this show Baby Bum has, I'm sure part of it has to do with the colors because it has amazing colors too, as well as some great sounds.
Yeah, well, what is sound? Where does sound come from? Through your intent and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And we tune in, or we can tune out. So when we're tuning in, we're bringing balance. You can, with sound, you can destroy or you can heal.
Mm-hmm.
They do have weaponized weapons that are based on sound.
Microwave.
No, just sound.
Mm-hmm.
Microwave is a whole different thing. These are all frequency based microwaves, and the sounds that are weaponized. But when you're dealing with something that's in harmony with the nature and universe, it's a whole different ballgame. This is when you move towards balance, the beauty. The it's if you're doing it correctly, it'll be in the tone of 432.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just like all the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees and everything else in nature is in that harmony, and the planets.
We sing, we go into the ocean here before the sun comes up while it's still dark. And that's because, anyway, I don't know how much I can share before I start getting in trouble or getting these, in trouble. But just these, my friend who's named herself Goddess, because when she got divorced about 30 years ago, and she tells this judge, I don't want this man's name anymore. And I don't want my father's name either. I'm going to name myself, and I'm naming myself Goddess. And the judge was, you can't do that. And just, yeah, I can. She said, when you get off work today, I want you to go to your mother and give her a hug, or call her on the phone if you have to, or pray to her in heaven. But you had to come through that goddess to come on this planet. So she got the legal name Goddess, and she is such a goddess. She's been really happily married now for like 25 years, and she's such a leader, and she likes to say she stands for love. She's the one that got to go to the fruit and spice festival. But every morning before the sun comes up, we're in the ocean, and we're just doing backwards flips and forward flips, and we do some laughter yoga where we'll start just laughing and then just hugging each other and laughing and coming out of the ocean as the sun's coming up. And we always are singing. We always find some really beautiful songs to sing. Like this one goes from I'm so sorry, I'm choking up.
It's okay.
I promise to, from this moment, with every breath I'm taking, to say I'm grateful. I am grateful. And a song about being a sanctuary. I want to be a sanctuary, tried and true, but just somehow singing with all that air and space and sand and water and just coming out of the ocean will sound wonderful to ourselves, and we'll start becoming feel very harmonized. And it's just such a wonderful day to start, a wonderful way to start the day. And I always told the people that were working with Ebola, that's how they would encourage each other when they get together in the morning before they would start to deal with the problems, is they would get together and sing. And yeah, so when I told my friend, come back from this festival with lots of beautiful songs, I'm sure I don't think I've ever been to an outdoor festival like a rainbow gathering or something where you didn't have people coming together and creating some really beautiful music. And that's the stuff we need to be cultivating.
Absolutely.
And then how sharing is caring. That's so important.
So how you feeling? You mentioned in the group that you're feeling better now.
Yeah, I see every time I'm with the master fast, and I drink and juice. Always feel better doing that.
Yeah, the more simple, the better we feel.
And my friend was excited that there were so many new people, so many young people that showed up at this festival. So nice. You're probably touching many more lives than you realize.
Well, it's you don't know how far your fields go. They can keep going and going and going. You just do what you got to do, and we're here to serve. That's all we're all here for, to serve each other. we do what we can. Let me see, John. I watched the movie Unplanned. I don't know that movie. I haven't watched many movies in a long, long time, documentaries and stuff. But John, I put 3 hummingbird feeders out today, Bakersfield, California, USA. Awesome. Hummingbirds are awesome to watch.
I got to go in Nashville to the food summit, and someone who was so exciting, he was talking about unplanting. We have this idea that we have to plant things and keep everything so neat and organized, but that nature knows what it's doing, and it doesn't really work like that. And yeah, people are excited about it. It could be so much easier than we realize, actually, to grow our own food. And
what's been missing the last year and a half plus is what? Fun in people's lives.
yeah,
People need to have fun.
and I was feeling sorry for you, because I feel like, oh my gosh, this person's so smart. He understands all these things that I don't even believe that I have the ability to put all this information together, which I have to overcome that. But when I still don't understand about GANs, and I still don't understand about why, burn wood and put that places where you're sore. And I said, and I believe to you, these things are, they fall into place. It makes sense. But I don't understand it yet. And I know I was told by a really smart person that he said, people don't want to think. It's hard. It's like lifting weights, right? And I thought, oh no, Gino needs people. He needs more people to think with, But I think I hope that you'd spend more time educating, because that's really, what I'm here to hear.
Yeah.
I want
You've used some of these things?
Yeah, I have.
Do you notice anything when you use them?
Yeah, I did, but I don't understand why,
Okay, well, go keep using them, go inwards, and it'll come to you. You have all access to the same information we all do. We're no different. We all come from the same creator. So is it important to know exactly who, where, when, why, how? It's irrelevant as long as we can find something that connects us and allows us to move towards balance. Who cares? We don't need to know all the details. As they say,
I would like, I want to know why I would be putting burnt wood, why I'd be putting carbon on the outside of my body to affect an organ that's on the inside of my body. I would like to make sense of that.
If we look back in history, when farmers would come to the end of the season, they still do it now in many places. They would burn the fields.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the carbon going into the charcoal going into the ground. And what does that do? It restores balance. What happens after a forest fire? New growth of things that weren't even there before, because they had to be activated by that high heat. There's some seeds that will not germinate unless they get exposed to the high heat. So nature is amazing and wondrous, and we'll never be able to explain and understand it all. But if we watch it and pay attention, we'll be able to see things, and we'll have a different understanding about it all. That nature knows best and it knows exactly what it's doing, and we're oblivious to most of it. We think we know, and every time we interfere, we cause imbalance in nature. Look what man has done to this planet. Look at where we are now today. It's absolutely ludicrous.
But things like that have been happening for a long time. Like, I know when I'm reading about Nietzsche and Daishonin 700 years ago, and there were all kinds of natural disasters. There were all kinds of plagues happening back then. So, it's about us figuring it out. I don't want to put people down, because I am a person, and I don't want to think that I don't have greater potential to learn and grow and, work with other people.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to believe. I don't have to point fingers out anymore and say, it's the government, or, it's the Jews. It's the, right. And we got to do that. We could just point the fingers at ourselves and go, okay, how hard is it to reach out to each other and communicate and believe, in the value of dialogue, that we're coming to a point in time where this is how we're evolving, what we're learning, people learning how to talk to each other
Right.
more effectively. And wonderful things at TED Talks about how, like, and learning about, like, the Pixar movies and what the people who've been leaders, like for Google and creating all these things recently, learning that it's about, you just set a stage like you have, and then for where people can feel comfortable to come and show off, and perform and show who they are and try to express their genius.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really well said that, this is what makes these creations, that enables them to happen. And they say that they're so sincere about wanting to thank everybody who's contributing, that they even thank the babies who were born at the time of making that one movie. And I've seen that as a teacher. I've seen where I could just set a stage and then give my students, their head and go, all right, let's put on a performance about this. And they get so excited and they have so many ideas, and, and I just have to step back. So that was, that was a speech that touched me the other day. And I thought, yeah, that's what needs to be happening. That makes sense. So my friend Goddess, she's like, where are all the other women that should be wanting to be with us to bathe in the ocean first thing in the morning, and laugh and hug? She's like, all right, you call 2 women every day and I'll call 2 women. But I hate calling people 5:30 in the morning. Hey, remember you said you wanted to do this, and the same thing with the looming. It makes so much sense to change the economic structure, so it's not out of fear and punishment and people working jobs they don't believe in, they hate, just to keep a roof over their head, that things that are making them sick, that we start doing what's meaningful. We create an economy that's a gifting economy, that we start hearing each other's dreams and goals and start gifting into that as it just makes so much sense. But it's so funny, it's so hard to move, like, the idea is 15 women coming together and creating one cell. And then when you have the 15, that cell is meant to split and now become 2 cells. And this loom that I've been in for a while, it's so hard to get women to just keep the faith that what we're doing is meaningful, when I went and I talked to the Surgeon General of the United States one time, and I said, how does one welfare mom who knows, who's told there's more money in kiddie porn than there is going into McDonald's, how do we make a difference? And she told me, it's important, let yourself be a trickle, and that trickle eventually starts meeting a little creek, and then that creek will start meeting a little stream, and eventually, you becoming a river, and eventually you are the ocean. But yeah, getting these little trickles to happen, it surprises me that, it's so difficult. Like you see that. I mean, all the time you talk about that, seeing people healing themselves and all these wonderful, wonderful things happening where people are healing and their minds are clearing and they're feeling better. And then they want to jump back into the world of, hey, let's get something to eat and put on a movie. And our fear of talking to each other, I guess. somebody says that Krista Tippett, she's a very, very good interviewer. She's on public broadcasting in Florida every Sunday from 7 to 8. But she has a show on Being, and they do it on Dakota Land. It's just it's really well done, really, really well done. You get to hear things that just make so much sense and, excite you and make you feel happy. First, yeah.
A lot of gifted people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them don't know it yet.
Mm. And yeah, this one woman, she said that she just wanted to turn like her whole world into one big like AA meeting, one 12-step meeting. Because she said you just find people in basements, like opening up to each other and really talking about their desire to fight for love, and fight for what's beautiful about humanity. And God, people going through operations and not using the medicine around them because they, have a problem with it. People who from NA, Narcotics Anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just amazes me how, doctors would be like, here, this will take the pain away, and they won't use the medicine. I know people won't use mouthwash because, of having alcohol problems, but
Yeah.
I find these people to be some of the brightest, most sensitive, and it's the one place to go where people are willing to be so honest and to talk about, they'll talk about love. And to me, that was just wonderful. And they'll talk about, willing to put out a lot of effort to have a strong integrity.
Yeah, everybody just wants to be loved and share love. A lot of emotional distress out there, and people, we don't know how to express it and stuff. But this is the challenge. Emotions, big player. We carry a lot of our ancestral emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It goes way back, and there's violence and throughout history and all the freaking continents and humans. We all carry that stuff, so we have to wash it off. How do we wash it off? Well, we go inwards, bring it to the surface, let it go, and bring balance to the lineage of our ancestors. We just got to keep doing it over and over and over again. It's going to be a work in progress. It's a journey, ongoing. It doesn't. We don't reach any destination. We just have to be willing and make that choice and sacrifice, I guess, if you will, to move in the direction of the light at all costs. And
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a lot of challenges coming when we make those choices, which makes us stronger. So we can take on more challenges, and then we can take more and more and more, and become stronger and stronger and stronger. And
No, the whole goal is to become really happy.
and then that strength nourishes others. That's what the stronger always nourishes the weaker. And then the weaker becomes stronger so they can nourish other weaker ones. And so it's just beautiful. It's a wonderful, amazing order that the Creator has built. And if we see that simplicity, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing and destroying and killing each other, right? So.
Well, my idea is that we're coming to the end of doing that. We've been terrible. I mean, gosh, when what people did to, the Indians and slavery and stuff that's been going on forever.
Yeah. And still going on.
In the Dark Ages, was it the Dark Ages? The Middle Age, you had people going out with whips and whipping each other to try to make the world a better place.
Yeah, burning witches.
Who got that idea out there?
Crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening now is actually even more crazier than ever because it's global.
Mm-hmm.
And it's affecting each and every one of us. These tyrants, these people that think that they know better for all of us.
See, and I tend to shy away from anything that sounds like pointing fingers out there, and giving more power to somebody that's,
We don't
you
consent.
see evil.
We
Huh?
don't consent. We don't consent to their bull crap. Yeah, we don't want to give them any power. We don't consent. Whatever it is, we don't consent. We are
Yes,
free
yeah.
spirits from the light, and we have unalienable, God-given divine rights that we must withhold at all costs. And it's just to get that through to the masses. It's a bit of a challenge, but we don't have to. And we just have to focus on ourselves because that's the only thing we can change.
I mean, I was brought up to think that, it's in a world of, barbarians that, just would want to hurt you. And, because that was my mom's reality, my grandma's reality, coming out of Nazi Germany. They said out of every family with 47 people, there'd be like one survivor. And a really interesting book is someone who went around and asked the survivors, how did you survive? And person after person is telling stories about deceased relatives that helped them make it through, help
Ah,
them survive that. We have that in our own my family. Yeah, that my grandma, they had just been robbed and they didn't speak the language where they were, and it was her and my mom.
so
And
they were communicating with the deceased relatives.
yeah, and that's like saved people. Like
Wow.
one time when I fasted the 36 days, I actually had like a relative come in and feed me in my vision, and then when I woke up, I was stronger. I mean, that actually happened.
Awesome.
And for my grandma, what happened,
Here.
she had her deceased father told her some numbers, gave her some numbers that she got to play, and then she could, get shelter for herself and her daughter and take care of them, until they could move on from that stage in life. But yes, it's called Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust. But I was told, all these terrible bad people, they drink and they beat their kids and they beat their wives and all this craziness. And I saw a man kick a dog one day, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, my mom's right. I mean, people really are evil, right? Well, when I started being this Buddhist practice, right, chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which is going, okay, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna understand cause and effect. We're gonna make this world a better place. And we were pretty poor. We were in Richmond, Virginia, and I had two big dogs, and I'm holding my baby, and I had something to eat in my hand, and the dog jumped up to try to get some of what the food was, a sandwich, I think. And oh, I don't know if I've told this whole thing. Okay, yeah. So I'm sorry. So yeah, growing up as a child, and then I saw a man kick a dog away, and people are really evil, right? So, but it's not me, it's those people out there. And then when I started chanting, and this dog jumped up on me, and I'm holding the baby. And so my natural response was to kick it, right? To kick it away. And I got so happy because it was like enlightenment. It's like I realized, oh, I could be that bad. So I didn't have to be so afraid of other people. I could understand them, because I realized I could be that bad too. And it was just, it really made me happy. Which is funny. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, interesting perspective. Yeah.
Thank you for being such a patient listener.
Well, we we've been doing this for 6 years. It's a long time. It passed by pretty quick.
Hmm.
Seems like we just started yesterday.
I mean, I feel like, gosh, we're all going to die. And right now, I just have so much more time to live. I'm not sure how much, but I know there's like so much I want to like communicate and do and share and build and grow and see, and how to make it happen in the time that I have to be here. So I'm really happy I'm talking to you. It took me like 2 years to um, ever for you to ever hear my voice or know me.
You
But,
mean you were in the group for 2 years before you did anything? Yeah, well, there's many of us like that. Like, took me, decades before I said, okay, I'm gonna start sharing on social media.
And my friend he was the owner of Aventura Natural Health, where he did massage and he did colonics and education and products and all. Really, really good person. And when he found you, he was too shy. You never really got to know him or hear him or anything, but he was watching you, listening to you. And the thing that most impressed him was that he saw you as really nice, as a nice person, and that put so much value behind what you're communicating, what you're saying.
Well, we try and do our best to serve. We all have our challenges, and we work as best
Mhm.
we can, with the challenges we have. Everybody's got challenges. None of us are perfect. That's it's interesting how when you put yourself out there in social media, you get all kinds of stuff coming back.
Mhm.
It's it's a real challenge when you get the negative stuff coming out. You have to learn how to just let it go, because
Mhm.
it's uh, it's all around us. It's all around us. It's good to hear some good stuff from people.
Yeah.
It's what keeps us going. Awesome.
I'm thinking of someone that they started doing so much better in business. They had like a little grocery store when they decided they were going to listen to all the negativity and try to take it all a little bit seriously instead of just like, well, that person's just crazy. Because this woman wrote, your fish are, I don't like buying fish from your store because the fish isn't fresh. And he knew the fish was fresh. And so, and he was just like, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about, right? But then when he was trying to understand things from her angle, and and he found out what she wanted to see was, chopped ice, right? With the fish laying on the chopped ice, not all packaged or anything. And then she felt it was fresh. So he did that and his sales like tripled. So from this letter where he could have said, this woman's just stupid, she doesn't know what she's talking about, and trying to understand, he was able to really do good for his own business. So yeah, I think.
Interesting. It's always a different way of looking at things. That's for sure.
And that's what Krista Tippett in that show on Being, that's what they're talking about more than anything, is how to how to hear each other and how to understand each other. And this one man he wrote a book called My Grandmother's Hands. He's like a professor. And what he's saying is that we're all, if we really start to understand our backgrounds and things that we've come through, we would know that it's not just in our mind, but also in our bodies. And have people just standing in the room, and he'd say, okay, now turn your hip to the left. Okay, now turn your head to the left. Now look behind you. Okay, now Do it to the right, your hip to the right. Okay, your head to the right, look behind you. Okay, now straighten up. Take a breath. How do you feel? And people would be shocked, amazed, because they actually felt a lot more relaxed. And he said that's because we still have this thing that, when we've been attacked before, it's come from the back. Or when people were like whipping people or hurting people, it's from the back. Yeah. So he has us really trying to understand how we make each other feel and how much that affects our ability to communicate. And so it's a whole other science. And I think it's less scary through through Zoom, right? First rainbow gathering I went to, they said, okay, pick someone in the room, pick a partner. And I think I shared that. And people don't pick the person in the room that excites them the most because we're still too scared of each other. But that if we would do that, we'd find there's like a lot of creative energy there.
Yeah, we step out of our comfort zones. It gets easier and easier.
So if I'm still trying to figure out why, I don't know, well, about what GANS is, because I know when you tell the story about helping your dad, I thought, man, that sounds powerful. And I just know it has to do with ocean water and copper, and I think another metal that you put.
Salt water.
Mm-hmm.
You can use ocean water if you have ocean nearby, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the contaminants are a problem if you're taking it from the shoreline. So it's preferable to use pure salt, just
Mm-hmm.
it's you're just opening up the structure to release its energy. That's basically it. Just like when you burn something, the GANS is much more potent, and it's in a form of plasma where it restores balance. It nourishes the weaker to restore balance. That's basically it. Right? We're just field interactions. There's many types of GANs you can make. The first one I made for my dad, I still have it right here, a little bit left. And this is CH3, and it was amazing when I went into the hospital with it, and I put it on my dad's lips, some of the water, and on his heart. And next day went in, he was improving, and then the day after, I made a bracelet for him, and every day he improved, and he got, it was, I can't remember the days now, but I think it was from like a Wednesday, and then he got out, it was on a Sunday, which was Easter Sunday. And the doctors were in shock how he turned around. They couldn't believe their eyes. I never mentioned anything to what I was doing to anybody there. But he completely turned around from a state where they thought he was going to go, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he had another 6 months, pretty good life after that, and it was very interesting to see. If you want to see something with physical proof, I guess you can say, go look at Giovanni's story from Italy, how he helped his daughter rebuild her brain with just GANs, completely rebuild. It was all destroyed, like it was put in a blender, pieces missing, and it's completely rebuilt. You can't see where the damage was now. You can see it from the x-rays, right? And the hip that was severed, you can't tell where it was, where the body mended it. There was no operations done because they thought she was gone. She was in a coma. So when you can see stuff like that happening, and people still question it because they're fearful of it or whatever, I don't know.
Well, I don't understand it. I don't understand, like, Okay, so salt water, I mean, I don't even understand all the components, and I'm scared to ask you because you got mad before. You said you could have read it. But actually, I like to
I
learn
don't
from
get
new
mad.
people.
There's tons of information people are way more versed in it than I am. I haven't been doing anything with it for a few years now. There's many people that are very well versed in making ganses and so on and so forth.
I mean, I'm not even sure if it's spelled GANZ, GANS.
As gas as nanostate solid.
Hmm. Can you say that again one more time slowly?
Gas as nanostate solid. It's in solid form. Because gas is nanosolid, basically.
Hmm.
That's the
So I think with David Wolf, he was talking about Ormus.
yeah. Well, Ormus, that's the old name they used to use. They didn't really have a true understanding of what it was, but now that we have the better understanding, we call it GANS.
Ah, okay. So it's the same stuff.
Yeah, you can say that. With Ormus, they were doing it with ocean water. GANS you can make with any material,
Hmm.
any element. Powerful stuff. We're made up of GANs. The physical body is made up of GANs, and every nanoparticle has the potential of the sun, power of the sun. So if we just, how do we fathom that? How do we conceptualize and understand that? If we latched on to a little bit of that understanding, just imagine the power we have. So that's where we're moving in the direction of gaining that understanding of working with the fields as masters, like Christ was a master of the fields.
Hmm.
Many others. There was even a few saints that were masters of the fields, and other people from the past, wonderful teachers. Uh, so this is not something new. Um, there's been gatekeepers who kept us from this knowledge and moved us away from learning this stuff for thousands of years. So here we are again to remember this lost knowledge.
I know that I went to something called Guru Puja, and that was from what? I think he's the young man that married the American stewardess that supposedly came as a great guru. Divine light mission. He could give people knowledge, right? Except me, they sent me home. But and I went to see him. I he was at Amherst in a college there, and I went to meet this person. And when I got off the elevator, they were on the ninth floor, as a matter of fact. And when I got off the elevator on the ninth floor, where these people from India who were supposed to be somewhat enlightened were there, I actually felt like blinded by the light. There was so much light in that environment. Something definitely, was happening there. It was more enlightened there, and that's what I got. What I got to feel.
Awesome.
So to me, this is a productive conversation because I just suspected that what David Wolf was talking about, the Ormus, was what you were talking about, Gans, but I didn't know. And gosh, I have a brother who's just written a book called Morning Dove. And when he was 7 years old, my brother started getting really excited, learning everything he could about climate change. That was when he first became aware of that, he said, at 7 years old. and he's trying to understand how to, what we're talking about, how to get people to make the difference. Like, we know the things we're supposed to be doing, right, as far as helping the planet, but not doing it yet. And he thinks that it has something to do with, we have to really connect from the heart. So he thinks when Harriet Tubman wrote the book Uncle Tom's Cabin, Abraham Lincoln went to her, and when the Civil War was happening, and he said, "Oh, so you're the little lady who started the Civil War with your book." And my brother's trying to write a book like that also, because when we're able to touch each other's hearts in a way, I don't, yeah, then we gain strength to fight for what's right. But he was making a lot of sense. This is my actually blood brother, and I started reading it, one time, and went, yeah, this is great. And and I want to know more, to be able, yeah, to share. But
Climate change has always been and it always will be. This is how Mother Nature works. It's nothing that uh, is the way that the scientists are saying. First with the global warming, then they've seen that it was a big fraud, and now they changed the word to climate change so they can take control and charge us carbon taxes and all kinds of stuff. It's all absolutely ridiculous theories. It's all ridiculous. Greg Braden, I think, did some really interesting work with that to show it's all nonsense.
well, I don't know what you're saying, what you're calling nonsense, like the
The,
idea that emissions are affecting the ozone.
yeah, it's all theory.
Mm-hmm.
It's all theory. Do fields affect other fields? Absolutely. But climate change has always been. There's always been different climates throughout the different years and centuries and thousands of years. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It never stays consistent. It's always changing. Does man have an influence from what we're doing? Absolutely, but it's not like what they're telling us. You know, um, yeah. Are we doing a lot of harm to the planet? Absolutely. So it's time that we live to be that change that we want to see, and stop
Mm-hmm.
doing the things that are destructive. With all the chemicals and pollutant and all that stuff. But as far as the carbon stuff, that's a bunch of nonsense. The more carbon, the more plant life thrives. That's
Mm-hmm.
been shown. In greenhouses, what do? They add carbon into the air. Why? Because it makes the plants grow better. They've even been doing carbon injected into the soil. It makes plants grow better. This is known. So why are we getting taxed on carbon now? It's absolutely nonsense. The stuff they're saying. It's just a control mechanism. It has nothing to do with what they're saying. The carbon is not the problem. It's everything else we're doing, polluting our waterways so we can't drink our water and stuff like that. Carbon,
Mm-hmm.
can't live without carbon. Carbon is one of the main essential elements of all life on this planet. It's part of the amino acid structure, Cohan. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. Without those, we wouldn't exist on this planet. There's the basics of all life forms. Carbon is essential. And yeah, if you could find that video from Greg Braden, it's nice to watch it. We're actually getting colder. First they said global warming, but no, we're actually getting colder. In some parts you're going to see, yeah, it's getting hotter, but in other parts, getting colder. There's always the balance happening with Mother Nature. It's never one way. It doesn't work that way. There's always a balance happening. The worst of the worst and the best of the best. The worse it gets, the better it gets somewhere else. There has to be a balance, or we would self-destruct. That's basically what I'm saying. But to try and go into the sciences of what they're saying about climate change. Yeah, I agree. There's climate change. Always been, always will be. Let's
Are
stop
you
looking
familiar
good.
with Mike Houdini? I think it's Houdima. He's the one that keeps posting on Facebook about, I mean, he's finding all the really positive things that people are doing around the world, negative and positive. But yeah, there's so much that's outstandingly positive, that there's so many good ideas out there, that what you saw where the guys save the houses, right? With the ozone. Yeah. And it's like, how do we take these beautiful realities that people see and get that more in the forefront of our consciousness, so it becomes more of who we are.
Yeah. We are in very beautiful, interesting times. And the darkness that's upon us, it's going to get darker. As they say, it always gets darkest before the dawn. So let's.
Pretty dark right now. I don't think it needs to get darker.
Yeah, it needs to. That's where then we're going to get the beautiful bright light coming through, right? So let's stay focused on the light. It's just part of the cycle. And what's got to happen is it's got to happen. Everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to, or it wouldn't happen. We all have lessons to learn from all this. And as a whole, as humanity needs to go through whatever learning situation that we need to go through. A lot of lessons going through. I just yesterday was at a funeral. One of my friend's mother passed after getting thing in the arm.
And then she got the COVID. I'm watching that happen. People getting the 2 vaccinations and they're still getting it. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, so people can believe whatever they want, but there's only one truth. And facts are, got to be based on truth. So we're not going to get into that stuff, but it's very difficult to discuss anything with anybody right now. It's a lot of fear mongering that's been happening for a while, and when people are in fear for several weeks, they can't think anymore. We've been at this for months, a year and a half. So let's elevate all the souls to peace, balance, correct conduct, so that they may move in the direction of peace, balance, correct conduct. That's all we can do.
How about peace, balance, correct conduct, and joy?
Sure.
Yeah.
That brings joy for sure. Joy, let's be happy. Let's enjoy our lives. Let's play with each other, sing and dance. Rejoice. Praise our Creator. Beautiful times are ahead. Beautiful times are right now. Enjoy.
Yeah, I like to think, just to be really weird out here, that people that are getting to die right now might be people that are kind of wanting to do that, and that the people that are hanging out here and fighting for a brighter future for these beautiful babies that are showing up, right? That I'm seeing. I know you have grandchildren right now.
Nope.
Yeah, I have one that's about to be born any day. His name's going to be Riley, and it's like, wow! I just think if people can come consciously, what amazing heart, and courage to come now, right? And yeah, with all this in.
Hmm.
I love this idea of a play where it's like they like get to sleep for like 6 months, and then when they wake up and they come back, the people that were on the planet get to sleep. And the idea is that when it's your time, to be alive, to be awake, that you're going to try to create things that are just going to be so much more colorful and fruitful and fragrant and playful. And so when you get to sleep and it's those other people's time to wake up, they'll go, wow, you did all this.
Imagine how the bears feel. They go to sleep every winter for 6 months.
Mm-hmm. But if I see that like living and dying, people living and dying, yeah. Because I don't necessarily see death as such a terrible thing because I don't really know. Don't have but I know what life is, and
Yeah, we will all leave this physical body sometime. We will let it go.
But yeah, and then there's the idea, and I like to think people can do what they want, people that want to come back and say, hey, I'm not leaving until there's no suffering in this realm anymore. I'll keep coming back. I can die, I can be in nirvana, I'll keep coming back because I want to care that much, I want to love that much and have that kind of faith.
All right, where are we at? 10:37. So let's, if anybody's got any last questions, we'll call it a night. Nice chatting, Barbara.
Thank you.
For joining us.
I'm grateful.
It's always a blessing to have people on. I can't be the only one talking.
Yeah, and I want to know more old people like me.
Why? Lots of wisdom in the older generations. Experiences brings wisdom. More experiences, more wisdom. So with that said, let's say good night or good morning, wherever you are. And we'll see you on the next Facebook Live Wednesday, or the next Friday Night Live next week. So let's continue to elevate all the souls out there, especially the ones that are choosing to move in the direction of imbalance. Let's give them an extra plaff. And we will make it through this, and we will come out stronger. The light has already prevailed, folks. Let's stay focused on that light. It's not let all this nonsense disturb our focus. The more of us join in and focus on the light, the faster we will get through this. So thank you all, and ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Good night.
Night. I missed Raina, but we'll talk again.
All right, bye.